The map of 1,000 stars. The air in Zama's barn was warm with the scent of hay, faint dust, and the ozone tang of active electronics. The four friends stood together for the first time in the same space, the portal's hum fading to silence behind them. Outside, cows shuffled lazily and chickens scratched the dirt. Inside, glowing monitors and crystalline devices turned the barn into a hybrid of a farmhouse and a starship control room. Carlos let out a low whistle, turning in place. This barn, it's like someone dropped a spaceship into the middle of a farm. Priya was already drifting toward the centerpiece, a massive projection of the Milky Way galaxy, suspended in midair. Each star glimmered like a grain of sand caught in sunlight. She reached out, passing her hand through a spiral arm, scattering light into ripples. "It's even better than seeing it over video," she murmured. Zama tapped a command into her wrist console. The projection zoomed inward, passing through constellations until it focused on a distant binary star system. Two suns, one pale gold, the other a deep ember red, circled each other. A single planet, cloaked in swirling violet and turquoise storms, spun slowly in their light. "Welcome," Zama said with a quiet smile, "to Orenda." The first debate. They gathered around the map table, their faces glowing in the light of the twin stars. "It's beautiful," Akio said softly, "but those colors, strong storms, unpredictable climate, we'll need a ship tough enough for anything." "Ship, yes," Carlos said, "but let's be real. The hardest part is getting it up there without being seen. The moment a launch plume goes up, NASA, ESA, SpaceX, even backyard telescope guys will know something's up." Priya crossed her arms. "So we skip the launch. Build a second portal, put it in space. No rockets, no launch pads. We just step through from the barn into the ship, already in orbit." Zama nodded. "Exactly. But—" She tapped the projection, shifting it to show the asteroid belt beyond Mars. "Getting the second portal there is the real problem. Even a sudden object in space can be detected. If it appears where nothing was before, space agencies will notice." Hiding the second portal. Akio studied the map. "We can't just teleport it without a link. We need something already out there, something big enough to hide it." Carlos grinned slowly. "An asteroid." Priya tilted her head. "Fake or real?" "Real," Carlos replied. "Think about it. We hollow part of it, place the portal inside, seal it back up. From the outside, it's just another chunk of rock." Akio pointed at the map. "Possible. My neutrino navigation grid can track the asteroid's movement to keep the portal aligned. But we still have to land it in the asteroid first, and that's where detection becomes a problem." The cloaking idea. Zama's eyes lit up. "What if we cloak it?" "Cloak?" Carlos asked. "Yes," she continued. "Not invisibility. More like bending its energy signature. Space agencies don't just see things. They detect heat, radiation, and reflected light. If we can bend or cancel those signals, we could make the portal carrier invisible until it's safely hidden inside the asteroid." Priya was already sketching on a scrap of paper. "I could adapt SIGs to emit countersignals, mask the gravity ripple of the portal jump so it looks like background cosmic noise." Akio's eyes narrowed in thought. "If I integrate that with my navigation grid, we could time the jump with the asteroid's position when it's in the shadow of Mars or another object, momentary blind spots and observation windows." Carlos was already thinking ahead. "And I can build a stealth mini-ship, small enough to carry the portal housing, powered by a modified fusion drive. No bright exhaust, almost no detectable EM signature. Cloaking plus stealth drive, no one will ever know it left Earth. 3 paths, 1 plan. They each refined their part of the solution. Carlos, a stealth transport with a low-energy fusion drive and dampened EM output. Priya, a cloaking system to mask gravity ripples and thermal signatures, integrated into the portal frame. Akio, perfect trajectory prediction, slipping the carrier into a gravitational blind spot before merging with the asteroid. Zama, strengthening the portal frame with a concentrated batch of element 777, stable enough to survive deep space conditions. The agreement. The barn was filled with the soft hum of their devices as they worked through the details. The plan was dangerous. If the cloaking failed, they'd be exposed. If the trajectory was off, the portal could be lost forever. But the excitement in their voices drowned out the risks. Zama zoomed the projection back out, returning to Arenda's storm-wrapped surface. When both portals are in place, she said, we step into the ship here, and step out there. Priya grinned. No launch towers, no countdowns, no news reports. Carlos leaned back with a satisfied smile. Just us and the stars. Akio closed his notebook. Then let's get to work. Outside, the night wrapped the barn in stillness. Inside, 4 young minds were quietly planning the first untraceable leap to another world. The glowing asteroid hologram slowly dimmed, its sparkling surface retreating into the shadows of Zama's barn. The wooden walls creaked softly as the night wind pressed against them, and the warm amber glow from the lanterns cast long shadows across the hay bales. In the air, the faint ozone scent of the holographic emitters mingled with the earthy smell of hay and oil from the portal frame. Carlos leaned on the table, fingers drumming a slow hymn rhythm, while Priya tucked her digital tablet under her arm and exhaled deeply. Akio's gaze was still fixed on the floating trajectories above the table, but his hand had stopped making adjustments. Zama glanced at the large, round clock nailed to the far wall, the kind with big black numbers and a faint ticking sound that seemed almost too loud now. 1900 hours here in South Africa, she said, her voice carrying both urgency and affection. It's getting late. We need to disperse before our parents start wondering where we are. U time zones, a puzzle of their own. They all froze for a moment, mentally mapping out the time differences. They had done this many times before, but it always felt like an intricate puzzle. Priya was already in the future compared to Zama. India was 3.5 hours ahead. That meant it was 22:30 for her. She was supposed to be in her room, finishing a major physics project. She'd told her parents not to disturb her unless it was urgent. It wasn't technically a lie. She was working on physics, just physics that bent light and warped space. Carlos, far west in Brazil, was still in bright afternoon sunlight at 14 Nog. His mom thought he was deep into a mathematics group project online. He'd even left his door slightly ajar, so she'd hear the occasional sound of typing or the soft clink of a mug to keep it believable. Akio was the time traveler of the group. In Japan, it was already 02:00 tomorrow morning. He was technically in Wednesday while the others were still in Tuesday. His parents thought he was sleeping, but in reality, his noise suppressor panel, a small black disc on his wall, masked the faint hum of his navigation hologrid. Zama was the only one truly where she said she was, in her grandmother's barn. She had told her gran she'd be sketching science diagrams for school. That was true enough, though the diagrams currently involved mapping asteroid shadow paths and portal stability algorithms. It's like we're already practicing space-time coordination without even leaving Earth. Priya laughed softly. The departure. They began their familiar shutdown routine. Akio disconnected his navigation grid from the hologram feed. Carlos saved the stealth mini-ship design into his private encrypted file. Priya powered down her cloaking schematics, the blue glow fading from her hands. Zama locked the barn's heavy wooden doors, though the portal frame still emitted the faintest hum. One by one, they stepped into their personal quantum portals, shimmering ovals of faint light stabilized by tiny element 777 cores. The air bent slightly around each doorway as they vanished, reappearing in their own rooms thousands of kilometers away. Work continues, at home, Priya's room, India. The curtains were drawn tight. A single desk lamp and the glow of her tablet lit her space. On her screen, she traced the spirals of a wave interference pattern, muttering under her breath. Wavelength equals velocity divided by frequency, she said to herself, adjusting the amplitude until the simulated light wrapped perfectly around an object without scattering. It was essentially an invisibility trick. Light had to bend just enough to emerge on the other side without distortion. Carlos's workshop, Brazil. He rotated the holographic CAD model of the stealth mini-ship, adjusting its edges so radar signals would deflect rather than return to the source. He remembered the equation from physics class. Angle of incidence equals angle of reflection. Except here, He had to break that rule by scattering waves in every direction. The hull took on a gentle curve, almost organic, like a manta ray gliding through the ocean. Akio's loft, Japan. Akio reclined slightly, scrolling through asteroid field maps. He aligned the cloaking data with orbital paths, accounting for gravitational perturbations using Newton's law of universal gravitation. He plotted a route where the mini-ship could hide in the gravitational shadow of an asteroid, shielded from enemy scans. Zama's barn, South Africa. Zama's hands hovered over the shimmering fragment of element 777. It pulsed in her palms, faint violet light flickering at the edges. She fed the frequency readings into the portal's stabilizing matrix, recalculating the phase coherence down to the femtosecond. The barn filled with quiet, rhythmic beeps as numbers streamed across her console. Curiosity at school. The next day, the four decided to test the waters with their teachers. Priya, in physics class, asked, "Ma'am, if someone wanted to bend light completely around an object, would you use refractive layers or a controlled magnetic field?" The teacher blinked. "Priya, I have no idea. You'd need to speak to a research physicist for that kind of thing." Carlos cornered his math teacher at lunch. "If I wanted to calculate a trajectory that hides behind an asteroid without being detected, what kind of equations would I use?" The teacher laughed. "Carlos, I can help you with parabolas and polynomials, not asteroid stealth." Akio, in chemistry class, asked about stabilizing exotic isotopes. The teacher frowned. "I don't think that isotope even exists. Are you sure you're not talking about science fiction?" Zama, in her engineering elective, showed a rough sketch of the portal frame. Her instructor rubbed his chin. "Looks clever, but this is beyond my experience. You'd better find someone who works in quantum mechanics." Reassembly through the portals. That evening, they each finalized their modules. Priya's cloaking field designs incorporated Maxwell's equations for electromagnetism. Carlos's stealth hull featured micro-grooves designed to break up radar wavelengths. Akio's navigation program accounted for gravitational lensing from binary stars, using relativistic corrections to Newton's law. Zama's portal stabilizer used phase modulation to keep the wormhole open for exactly 3.2 seconds longer than before, enough for a ship to pass through. One by one, the schematics slid through shimmering portal circles, arriving in the barn. They floated gently onto Zama's workbench, merging into a single unified design glowing faint blue. "We're getting closer," Zama whispered. The end. To be continued. Stay tuned for the next chapter.